Hi guys, welcome back. Today I have another email for you, and the gentleman that sent me this email is always in my comment section, and I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of his comments because he always makes a lot of comments in my comment section. But what I'm going to do, as I always do, because I respect everyone's privacy, I never mention your names, okay? I never do that because, as I said, I respect everyone's privacy. Every email you send to me, only I know your name, okay? So I'm not going to reveal his name, of course. So you guys follow along. I'm going to read his email, and I'm going to chime in every now and then. Then at the end of this story, I'll give my analysis. Okay, so here's what the gentleman had to say. This is what he said. So he says, hopefully this isn't too long, but I wanted to share a dating horror story. I use dating apps because that's what most of us millennials are doing now. I'm old-fashioned and would prefer to meet a woman in person, but the dating apps can be somewhat convenient. Some of my coworkers use them and they've had a bit of success with it, so I figured I'd jump on the bandwagon. In my dating profile, I describe myself as a delivery truck driver that enjoys outdoors, traveling and staying fit. I do a lot of CrossFit and calisthenics, so I'm lean and ripped. I post shirtless profile pics because I noticed that I get a better response from prospective women by having a lean physique. In my profile, I also mentioned that I've been working diligently and plan on launching my very own trucking business rather than working for someone else. As you know, these dating apps are very competitive. As a man, you really have to stand out in some way just to even get noticed. I soon met a young lady on a dating app and we began talking. I was interested in her and it seems as though she was interested in me. She told me she liked the way I wrote my profile and it looked like I put a lot of thought and care into it. We were chatting on the app for a few days, then we exchanged numbers and started texting. So far, she seemed cool. She looked really nice on her profile pic, but I didn't know if that's how she really looked in person. It's not unusual for women on dating apps to post 7 or 8-year-old pictures of themselves. Then when you meet them in person, they've gained a lot of weight and look completely different. But I was hopeful. We moved past texting and began actually talking on the phone. She had a nice voice and was able to carry on a conversation. Her personality seemed really good too. I was skeptical about all of this at first, but whenever I'd call and she wasn't able to answer, she'd always call me right back, so that eased my tension a little bit. We were in the talking stages for about 2 weeks. With my busy schedule, I was finally able to plan a date. Nothing too extreme, just a simple date. No food or drinks, not because I'm cheap, but just because I wanted something simple so we could chill and get to know one another. Even when I was in high school, I would just have simple dates. He also said that I asked her if she would meet me at the park. That way we could drive our separate vehicles. In his email, he said me and her kicked it off pretty good. We went on our first date. I decided a good first date would be going to the park. I chose one of the local parks in our area because it's quiet, has a lot of nice scenery, and there are benches to sit on and have a conversation. He says, call me old school, but I think that's one of the best ways to get to know someone. So, okay guys, so he also mentioned that she looked exactly like she did in her profile pic. She was a petite Latina, jet black hair, 5'5", and probably around 135 pounds, and she was 29 years of age. He said that she was definitely his type of woman, mentioning as a Hispanic male, he's only used to dating Hispanic women because they're mostly family oriented. Okay, so after their little date at the park, they hugged, got into their cars, and went their separate ways. Okay, so in his email, he told me that he was ecstatic. Their date went great, and as a bonus, she was attractive and not overweight. But also in the back of his mind, he was still a little skeptical because things went a little too well, especially regarding the fact this was a female he actually wanted. And according to so many people, those are the hardest ones to deal with. But he pushed all of those negative thoughts aside and started thinking positive. So, the next day while he was in his truck making a delivery, she decided to text him. She said how much she enjoyed going to the park and how no other guy was ever that nice to her. The fact that she texted him first made him even more ecstatic. He heard all of the horror stories about women flaking and ghosting, so he didn't know what to expect at first, but she managed to come through. After he read her text message, he saw it as both an invitation from her as well as an opportunity for him to get another date. So this time he asked her to meet up with him for dinner on a Friday evening, which she immediately agreed. So on that Friday evening, they met up around 6:30 p.m. at Teriyaki Madness. He said, "Our date went great. We were talking and laughing the whole while. We vibed really well. At this point, I couldn't believe I had been second guessing myself, and I was starting to forget about all of that nonsense everyone was saying about women. I was thinking those guys are just mad because nothing ever worked out for them. Being on this date even stroked my ego a little bit. I have this cute chick that's so into me, and she's following my lead. It's amazing how a woman like this can make a man feel." So the bill came, and guess what? She offered to pay. He said, "I was not expecting this, but she offered to pay." Yes, I've gone on dates with women and had them offer to pay, but I was not expecting that from this girl. It's a known fact that attractive women want the guy to handle all of the payments in exchange for how they look. So I was shocked when this happened. Of course, I declined her offer and paid for the both of us. After all, it was my treat, and I just wanted her to enjoy herself. We walked out of the restaurant around 7:45. We sat in my car for about 15 minutes and talked for a little while longer. She kissed me on my cheek, told me how much she enjoyed herself, and told me to text her once I got home to let her know that I made it safely. So I did, and as always, she texted me right back with a smiley face emoji. I was really feeling this woman. I was really beginning to like her a lot. So much to the point that I started bragging about her to my buddies at work. We went about a week without seeing each other, but we made up for that by texting back and forth and FaceTiming, sometimes staying up late at night just to do so. I asked for another date that weekend, but she said she was busy that weekend but would be free on the following weekend. So that following weekend gets here and I set up another date with her. Deadpool and Wolverine was coming out, and being a huge Marvel fan, I just had to go see it. She said she wasn't a huge fan of superhero movies, but she did go see the last Captain Marvel and wouldn't mind going to see this one just to check it out. So I gave her a time to be ready, but this time I told her I would come and pick her up. So she gave me the address to her apartment. I pulled up to her apartment unit and walked up to the door and knocked. She opens the door with a smile, all dressed up, and I could smell the scent of her sweet perfume. She tells me to come inside. Right when I step through the door, she locks it, gives me a very long and tight hug, and kisses me on the cheek. I'm not going to lie though, between the perfume and the long hug and the soft kiss, she did turn me on. Honestly, I thought other things was about to happen right then and there, but I wasn't necessarily looking for anything sexual. I just wanted to go see the movie, and then maybe after that, and once we got back to her apartment, we'll see what happens. But for now, I just wanted to go see the movie. She tells me to have a seat on her sofa, and I was like, okay. I was eager to go see the movie, but had a little bit of time to spare since it didn't begin till about an hour later. And I know how girls are. It takes them forever just to get ready. As I sat down, I observed her dwelling. The TV was very loud. There were clothes thrown all on the floor, and I had to move some over just to have a seat. I noticed there were dishes piled up in the sink and cereal boxes all over the counter. But I was like, oh well, maybe she just didn't have time to clean up before I got there. As I was waiting, I guess she had just gone back to her room to finish doing her hair or whatever. All of a sudden, I heard voices coming from another room. Then, like a bolt of lightning, 2 kids run out of the room playing and chasing each other. She walks out of her room and back into the living room where I'm sitting, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you had company over. She gave me a nervous laugh and simply said, oh yeah, don't worry about them. At this point, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. I hope I'm not right, but I think this is exactly what it looks like. I felt awkward. Then I thought, oh, well, maybe she's just babysitting or something like that. About 15 minutes has passed and the front door had randomly opened. I looked and it was this tall black guy with a shaved head just standing there. He gave me an intimidating look and I awkwardly smiled back. In my head, I'm thinking, what the F is this all about? I felt sick to my stomach. I knew exactly what was going on here. When I first walked through the door, I noticed that she locked the door behind me. So this dude obviously had his own key to her apartment, and he was able to just let himself in unannounced. He walks back into her room and I overhear a bunch of yelling and arguing between the both of them. Then he angrily walks back out the door and out to the parking lot. Moments later, she follows him out the door, bringing the kids with her. I was sitting in there for about another 5 minutes all by myself. She suddenly scurried back inside without the kids and looked very irritated. She tells me she's so sorry, but we can still go see the movie. At this point, I didn't even want to see the movie anymore because this situation I witnessed just killed the whole vibe. But I didn't know how to properly respond, so I just said, okay, let's go. The drive to the theater was definitely awkward. I never asked who that guy was or whose kids were those. Yes, I already knew, but I wanted her to tell me the truth. While we were at the theater, I tried to get into the movie, but just couldn't. This was really boggling my mind. I heard how good this movie was, but the situation I was in ruined it. Long story short, after the movie, we went back to my car and sat for a few minutes. I couldn't hold it in anymore, so I finally asked her what was the deal with that situation earlier. She said that the guy was the father of her 2 children. They are separated, but she had him come to the apartment to pick the kids up so she could go see the movie. She tells me he picks the kids up every other weekend, but this weekend wasn't his weekend to pick them up, but she made him do it just so that she could go on this date. I was going to ask her how come she never told me about her children, but I was so disappointed. I didn't even want to talk anymore. I just wanted to drop her off and go home. She obviously knew I was frustrated because she asked me if I was okay. No, I'm not, I told her. Let's just go home and call it a night. So we got back to her place and I simply told her good night. She reached over the center console and gave me another hug and told me again she's so sorry for what happened. I was so disappointed. I didn't get out of my car, nor did I walk her to her door. On my way home, I pulled into a Family Dollar parking lot, broke down and cried in my car. I made it back home, went to bed, and cried some more. Yes, I'm ashamed to admit that, but this was heartbreaking. Although I consider myself an attractive guy, I've had my share of rejections. I've also had my share of success too, but this is far worse than any rejection. In this case, I was led on thinking I had achieved the prize, when in reality the prize was never mine. The prize was just a mere illusion. When I got the idea that those were her kids, it felt like a punch in the gut. When the dude unlocked the door and came in, it felt like a kick in the nuts and a slap in the face. She was a nice girl and all, and I had high hopes, but can't stand the fact that another man will have access to her whenever he pleases. And that dirty look he gave me when he walked through the door still gives me the chills, like he didn't want me around her or his kids for that matter. All of this happened on a Saturday, and I was so devastated by it, I had to take off from work that following Monday. My buddies at work would ask me about her every now and then, but I was too ashamed to tell them the truth. But my sadness became anger. I know how that sounds, but it was for all of the right reasons. I deleted the dating apps off my phone. It hurt, but I blocked her number too. The anger caused me not to want to go through this again. I'm 100% focusing on myself and the trucking business I've been working on. If I do just so happen to meet a lady, that's fine, but it's no longer my priority. My priority is to get my business off the ground and likely earn 6 figures from doing it. Okay, guys, that's his email. And whoa, all I can say is whoa. Where do we begin? So I have this to say. She was an undercover single mother. An undercover single mother. The whole time she was playing you. She was acting so nice to cover it up. Yeah, she was acting so nice, responding to your calls, offering to pay on dates and all of that. So whenever she decided to reveal to you that she had kids, you would overlook it. That was her plan the whole while. When the baby daddy came in the house and they started arguing, that situation showed you how she really is. She's argumentative, chaotic. And you know what? It's a blessing in disguise that he showed up when he did so you could see her true nature. And he was so mad because she's so demanding. She made him come pick up the kids because she wanted to go on a date. And yes, he is mad because there's no telling what kind of people she's bringing around his children. So don't blame him for looking mad. I'm sure any man would be mad being placed in that predicament. And another thing, I bet he's paying child support too. What you want to bet? He's paying child support. So when she offered to pay, guess whose money that was? His money. That was his money that she was going to pay for the date. And although, they are supposedly separated, trust me, the baby daddy is still in the picture, okay? And yes, like you said in your email, he still has access to her. I mean, come on. He has his own key to her apartment. So what does that tell you? Come on now, what does that tell you? And people like that, this is what they do. They argue, they go back and forth, then they get back together. And as you can see, she loves chaos. And you had to go to her house just to find that out. Then you mentioned how messy and disorganized her place was. Just nasty. More evidence right there of the type of chaotic life that she lives. And that weekend you asked her out. Remember you asked her out that particular weekend and she said that she was busy, right? I'm starting to believe that it was on a weekend she had the kids and the father either refused or couldn't pick them up so that she can go on a date with you. So she simply told you that she was busy, and I'm sure she had you believe that too. And if she was so nice, she would have told you up front about her children and her current situation. But this is what these women do. They'll lie. Because if she had told you that, she know you would have refused everything. Right? Right. It was all a front. And the front worked because she had you believing it. That's what these women do. They're big liars. I told you guys how they lie to get their way. So you did the right thing by deleting those dating apps. Guys, if you're on dating apps, please delete the dating apps. Come on. So as I said, you did the right thing by deleting those dating apps. You thought you found a diamond in the rough, but you were wrong. You were really wrong. My advice to you, focus on your trucking business and get that going. Make it happen. Don't worry about chasing these crazy, greedy, lying modern women, because as you see, she had you so depressed, you have to call off from work from being so depressed. She wasn't straight up with you. She sent you into a depression. And these women think men don't have feelings, but wake up, ladies, because they do. Stop treating these men like that. Be honest with them. But we all know you can't be honest. You're big ass liars. Okay? Now, what do you think she would do to you if you had your trucking business? What do you think she would do if you had your trucking business? Imagine dealing with her and trying to deal with your business. You think you were depressed? You'd be 10 times depressed and stressed. So don't second guess yourself. Like the old saying goes, he who laughs last laughs best. And that is so true. And I want these ladies to hear this. You need to hear this. He who laughs last laughs best. So you keep playing these little trickeries and these little mind games just to get your way with these men, lying to them. Just remember that. Remember that phrase. And as I said, it's so true. And when you start making your 6 figures, all of the females that lied and did you dirty, they're going to wish they had done right by you because they've missed out on a great opportunity. And that's what always happens. See what happens when you lie? I don't understand why women just cannot tell the truth. You're freaking allergic to the truth. You really are. You're allergic to the truth. Lies, lies, lies. Guys, stop believing these women. Find out about them before you start doing the dating thing, and like I said, you were lucky. You were very, very lucky because all of this happened for a reason. The way it played out, it happened for a reason. And you just wonder why she has a baby daddy. Because of her attitude and the way she tricks men into believing things that aren't true. So I want to thank you for your email, and I'm sending many, many blessings to you. Okay? I know that you're going to do well, and you are going to make your 6 figures. As I said, focus on yourself and make it happen. Leave these women alone because they're nothing but liars, and they'll be a big distraction to you. They're distractions. I discussed that before in my videos, how women will distract you. They want your time, your mind, your heart, your soul to be solely focused on them. So don't do it. Focus on yourself. So again, I wish you the best. So sorry you went through that, but you did learn a lesson. And go ahead, make your 6 figures. Make it happen. I wish you the best. And always remember, guys, as I always say, stay away from these modern women.